Namaste, good evening, and welcome to Bloom. My name is Payal Irani, and I'm CEO of Bloom Transformations Together. Today, we are welcoming a very dynamic and a very own advisory Bloom member, Meera Sansgiriji. Welcome, Meera.
Namaste, Payal.
So before I introduce Meera ji, I'd like to speak about what is Bloom. We are starting a bi-monthly series right from today. Every month, we'll be discussing topics which are very common, but yet not very widely discussed. So Meera Sansgiri is a senior advocate, over 30 years of experience. She's a speaker and an international bestseller author. So for today's topic is domestic violence. Meera, from a layman's perspective, what is domestic violence?
So, domestic violence is the violence caused by the respondents, that is, a person with whom a woman stays. Now, let me tell you this domestic violence case. What is the full form of domestic violence? Protection of women from domestic violence. This is the act. So, precisely this act has been made for women and only women. So, this abuses pertaining to women. Abuses are of different kinds: physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse, economic abuse, and emotional abuse. So, now let's say what is verbal and what is physical abuse. Physical abuse, everybody knows: slapping, hitting, biting, pushing, criminal intimidation, threatening. These are all physical abuse. A woman is entitled to file a case against the respondent if she has these kind of abuses. Verbal abuse is humiliating a person, degrading a person, calling names to a person. These are certain things which are verbal abuse. Insulting in public, insulting in presence of family. These are all verbal abuses. Now, coming to sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is humiliating a woman, body shaming, calling her fat, ugly, comparing her with some other women. These are some sexual abuses. People have not only stopped body shaming their wives, they also body shame their daughters. I mean, that is very unusual, and that is what they do. They'll compare their daughter with some other person, not allowing her to wear what she wants, or maybe after she wears, humiliating her. These are certain things, these are also sexual abuse. So, no comments on your dressing or your looks is permissible, right? Economic abuse is depriving a person from using her own financial resources. That is, many women are not allowed to invest their own money. The husband does it. She earns the money, but the investment is done by the husband. She rarely knows what is in her name. She's made to withdraw cash and give the money to the husband or the partners. So these are certain kinds of economic abuses. Plus, at times it is seen that women are not even allowed to use certain appliances in the house, which is very unusual. I mean, you will be surprised to know that this is happening. She is not allowed to use the washing machine. To apne ghar pe kar. We will not allow you to wash in the washing machine. I mean, such small things. But these are the kinds of economic abuses. So there are several abuses which together form domestic violence against women. So women are not even aware that this is domestic violence that is happening against them. The statistics shows that 77% of women are not even aware that they have been a subject of domestic violence, and nor have they ever complained. That's the statistic. So women have to be aware as to what is domestic violence. So these are the kinds of domestic violences.
Thank you, Meera. You have pondered upon different topics, subtopics under domestic violence. Economic abuse. I have been hearing this first time in my life.
See?
Yeah, so tell me, who can file these cases? Who are eligible and what age someone can file cases for domestic violence?
So, well, this, as I earlier said, domestic violence can be filed only by a woman. Now, woman can be a wife, a living partner, a mother, a child, that is a daughter. A daughter can file it against her father, brother, sisters, anybody. So domestic violence can be filed by a woman against a woman also. Earlier, it was that domestic violence could not be filed against a woman. For example, a daughter-in-law could file a case against a father-in-law, brother-in-law, but she couldn't file it against the sister-in-law or sasuma, who would be the main culprits. So that's when the Supreme Court amended it, and domestic violence cases can be lodged and filed against respondents who could also be women. So these are filed. So there are cases where daughters are filing against the fathers and the brothers and even the mother and sisters. So that's how. So domestic violence has to be filed by a woman against the respondents. Respondents can be your living partners, your husband, your brother, your family members, anybody with whom you are staying in a sharehold. That is a common place of residence. Only then you can file a case against them.
So very important line you said, a woman can file a case against a woman.
Yeah, she can. Yes.
And where does men go? I am sounding a bit cliche over here, but where does
So Payal, the question is regarding this law. This law has been prepared for women, you know. This has been made for women, especially for women. So whenever this topic comes up, you know, it's always a question like men would always feel very anxious. They'll say, oh, everything is for women. हमारे लिए क्या है? Women are being very smart. But you have to understand, law is not been prepared for urban areas only. It is for all over India. We are considering the rural areas. When we are talking here, when we think about men, we are thinking about the rural, we are thinking about the urban men who and the urban women. You know, there are typical people who will say that nowadays girls that do not listen, you know, they have become smart. Which women are we talking about? We are talking about women who have been financially sound. We are talking about women who are in the metro cities. But what about the women? What about the women folk who are in villages all over India? You have to understand this law is made for all over India. When I'm giving the statistics of 77%, it is considering all over India. That's the percentage. And that's why men do have other areas, you know, they have so many other avenues to, you know, they have other reliefs. But for women, firstly, women don't even come ahead. Walking out of a abusive marriage or a relationship is not very easy for a woman. You know, it takes lot of courage and effort to walk out. She's not been supported by her own parents. How many cases do we see that the parents do not support the girl? They will in fact ask her to suffer. अगर हस्बैंड मारता है ठीक है ना, उसमें क्या है, थोड़े दिन के बाद ठीक हो जाएगा, तुम खाना अच्छा बना लेना. That's the advice. That's the mindset. So this law has been prepared for women. So let's concentrate on that aspect.
so in India, for women, this law is specially for women.
Yes, yes, because you get reliefs. Yeah.
Yes. And how do you file these cases?
So there are two ways of filing it. One, you can directly go to the police station. A woman can just go to the police station and lodge a complaint. And the police have a protection officer and they can file a case directly in the court, in the magistrate courts. And the second option is by filing a private case through your lawyer. So there are both the options are open, and there's a protection officer who is appointed, who is like a counselor. So you have to understand one thing here, only because a woman files a case, she does not get relief. She has to go through a lot of efforts. Firstly, she has to go to the police or approach a lawyer, then tell her case. Then there is a protection officer who talks to the girl, talks to the husband, tries to resolve it. And if it doesn't resolve, then the matter goes to court. So first they will try to settle the matter. Nobody is here to break a marriage, you know. They want to save the relationship. But if certain things are not doable, then you have to file a case. There is no option. Physical abuse, there cannot be an option, you know. So you have to get, the protection officers are appointed for that. And that's how the cases are filed.
What are the pros and cons of it? I mean, are there any disadvantages?
The only disadvantage here is the time. See, a woman going to a court and filing is a different thing. But unfortunately, our courts are flooded with so many cases. So she does not get enough reliefs, or quick reliefs are not given. So women, though they have the law in their favor, they are unable to execute it because you do not, the decisions are not very quick. So that's the unfortunate part. As far as the pros are concerned, well, the law is very clear. She has the right to execute her right. She has to file cases. She has to be stronger mentally, physically. She has to be strong to stand for her rights. That's the pro. But the unfortunate part is that it takes time. So she does not get immediate relief. So that's the sad part about the cases, you know.
Process is long and the time
Process.
is also
Yeah.
involved, right?
Sustain to, yeah, to sustain that time is difficult. The period, you know, till the time she gets the relief and till the time she actually gets the money, that whole thing, she needs a lot of support. So
And the
that's,
trauma which she undergoes again and again, telling the story
oh yeah,
to
oh
the
yeah.
lawyer, to the police, and to the
Oh,
protection officers.
yes, yes, yes. That is painful, you know, that's the painful process, but that's how it is. That makes her stronger. The more she talks, she becomes stronger, she gets more support. But so we always say she has to be mentally strong for this. So,
Okay. So share us some, challenging case studies in your life, in your tenure, and some funny case studies where you have just produced a case and the judge has just rejected it.
oh. You really want to hear about things where husbands are, or the male part people have benefited out of
Yes,
it.
and even the audiences, I believe, they
Okay, okay,
want
okay. I
to
think
hear
everybody
it.
would want to. So, well, there was one matter where this girl had filed a case against the father, brother, mother, sister. And so we were amazed, you know. I was representing the husband and the mother and all, and so we were amazed as to why has she filed a case against them. And then eventually, with the protection officer, she filed a case saying that my brothers and my father, they are extremely cruel and they are extremely controlling and I have no freedom for anything and all blah blah blah, and a lot of allegations. When the matter was presented before the court, the courts also interviewed, and you know, they found out, finally we got to understand that the girl had an affair and she wanted to marry a certain person, a boy who was out of their religion. The parents were opposing it, and because there was an opposition by the parents, she not only lodged this domestic violence, but she lodged several other cases also against the father. But then here it was not sustained, because the judges also here, they said you cannot use the law for your own purpose. They are opposing you doesn't mean they are cruel. They have their own point of view. This case was rejected because she was unable to prove anything. All the allegations were made at the instigation of her boyfriend, because they thought the parents would get scared. So that was a very funny thing, you know, where we had to, because it was a family affair. Normally what happens is it is between husband and wife or living relationships. The other things which are very commonly seen nowadays is living relationship. They are living together, and moment they have some issues, the lady partner, the petitioner had made allegations of rape against the respondent, and physical abuse, sexual abuse is the allegations made. Again, that was not sustainable because she was staying with him without marriage for 10 years. And then after 10 years, when things went wrong, she suddenly filed for DV and she started demanding things because he did not give in. She filed such false cases. So there are cases like that. So women have, you must have also heard Me Too movement,
Yes.
where allegations similar, you know, allegations are made against the men. So they are very scared, there are men who are very scared because this DV has been misused by women, and then there's no way out. So that's when men have been a little scared and skeptical about this thing. But trust me, the police and the protection officers and the magistrates are also very fair. They do not, initially yes, there would be a teething problem, initially yes, the case would get registered, but finally it's not that bad. Finally the truth prevails. That is what I believe firmly. And so don't have to worry, men do not have to really worry if the allegations are false. They do not have anything to worry initially, yes, because that trauma is there, that defamation is there, so that is there. So such things do happen, Payal.
Yes, so a daughter filing case against her parents due to instigation of the boyfriend.
Boyfriends, yeah.
Very rare case.
Yeah, so these such things happen.
Any challenging case, Meera, so far? Any case which has been very challenging for you?
Payal, challenging meaning the challenges to give relief to the clients. Now here, at times there are women who have been thrown out of their house by the husbands, by the in-laws. They, though you have a restraining orders, you are not. They do not follow orders, and she's just thrown out of the house. Now there is a case in with me where she has converted herself for the husband. She's converted herself to be his religion. She stays with him. She left her father's house to get married to him. Thereafter he kept humiliating her on her religion, on her food habits. Thereafter she remained pregnant, she became fat. He started body shaming her. Then he started talking about her she couldn't get a boy child, so he started humiliating on not giving a boy child, humiliating on lot of several things. As a result, it was very difficult for her to stay with him in the same house. Now we got an injunction order, restraining orders, from the court that he should not be thrown out of the house. But he did not follow. He locked the door. When she had gone out for work, he locked the door and he went off. It was very challenging for her to get the police order executable and then remove the lock, enter the house. Staying in the hostile atmosphere in the same house, not easy. Not easy. It's very easy to say, but to stay in a hostile atmosphere, very difficult. So I can add here, what are the reliefs?
Yes.
What are the reliefs that
question
we get?
to you is what are the relief which are granted?
So the reliefs given are monetary reliefs, that is you're given money, maintenance is what you are claiming for if she's not working. What happens if she's not working? She gets maintenance. She gets permanent alimony. Restraining order. Restraining order is that you should not throw her out of the house, restraining him from dispossessing the house itself, disposing of the house, selling the house. You get restraining orders that you will not be able to sell the premises. Restraining order from coming to her workplace. If she's working in a certain place, he is restrained from entering her workplace. Restraining order from throwing her out of the house. Restraining order from throwing him out of the house. If the husband is staying in the house and creating a ruckus, he's a drunkard and he's abusing her, we get an order to throw him out of the house. But you cannot throw your mother-in-law out of the house. Even if you can file a case against her, you cannot throw her out of the house because protection is given to her also. As a domestic violence woman, you cannot throw her out of the house. So, but you can stay in the house. So these are certain restraining orders. Then you can get rent. The woman is entitled to have the same rent or the same standard of living from the husband. So this is what she gets from the husband. These are the reliefs sought from the husband. You get also reliefs such as you are not allowed to, abuse her. I mean, there are certain times only even verbal abuses. There is a restraining order, but how are you going to execute it? Very difficult, very difficult. But these are the kinds of reliefs that you can get. So these are the reliefs expected from the courts, and we do get it.
Very useful and important discussion here,
Yeah.
Meera. Thank you for removing your valuable time. I'd like to open up the platform to our audiences. If they have any questions, they can either put it on the chat or they can unmute themselves and ask. Namaste, Shrenik sir. So, Shrenik sir will be, yeah, he's thanking. He says he has another meeting. Thank you, Shrenik sir.
Yeah.
Anybody, any questions?
Yeah, myself.
Yes, please.
Menon here on the line. Restitution of conjugal rights. Restitution of conjugal rights. Can it be filed by a woman against the husband?
Yes, she can. Restitution she can. If the husband throws her out of the house and she still wants to save the marriage, she can file a case of restitution. Yes, of course.
Even if they are in the same house and if the husband files or the wife files for restitution of conjugal rights.
Oh, no.
What?
If both are living in the same house, where is the question of restitution? Restitution you cannot file.
Proving this will be very difficult.
No, because if you're staying in the same house, you cannot file a restitution. But you have other reliefs like maintenance, you can file staying in the same house. Divorce, you can file when you're staying in the same house. You can file for domestic violence also when you're staying in the same house, but not restitution because you're anyway staying together. You cannot force somebody to love you, right? मेरे साथ प्यार से बात करो. How can you force somebody? So you cannot file that case.
Thank you, Balram sir. Thank you.
So the one question, Payal, I would like to ask is, what do you think should be done to actually give the law more teeth? Any changes which should be done, or the enforcement should be better, or maybe there should be more awareness? Or all the combination of all three?
So there is, yes, a good question actually. So
This question, Meera, give me a second. So this question has come from a very beloved husband of Meera Sansgiri, Mr. Abhishek Sansgiri. I request you to kindly come on video, please. Show your smiling face to all the audiences.
And everybody in the meeting will know Abhijit is the husband of Meera Sansgiri. Okay.
Yes, for them who don't know. Yes, Meera ji, go ahead.
So of course there is a requirement, we have to have a lot of changes, but then that is, I mean, judges are less. There has to be social awareness also. Actually, I think what is lacking here is social awareness also. So that has to be there. So people should be aware of their rights. And so what was the question further, Abhijit?
So is it a combination of social awareness? Is it a combination of the law being given more teeth? Or what else should be done to make this more effective?
Actually, the police, there have to be more of protection officers also, who will be able to guide the people who come to file complaints also. That is, there are less protection officers. The kind of protection officers appointed are not really very well trained. So, so that those should be added, and awareness have to be there. Awareness is a must. That I think that should answer your question. And everything, combination of everything is a must.
Awareness. There are many women who still don't know
They
what
don't
are
even know that. You know what happens if you do not continuous of abuse? Finally, you start accepting it. The victim thinks that ये तो चलता ही रहता है. This is बस इतनी सी बात. Everybody must have watched the movie Thappad. बस इतनी सी बात. That's the whole thing, That is the main thing. Like one thappad should also be, it is abuse. But then it's like, it's considered, बस इतनी सी बात, उसमें क्या है? So that
from layman's perspective, domestic violence, abusing, it's very common when
very common, yeah.
grow up in a country like India, especially where there is male domination. Too many males are there dominating. It's too common. So, kare to kya kare? Awareness be there on a larger scale.
And as I said, the parents don't support. The parents themselves will not support. The mothers will not support their daughters or their daughter-in-laws. They'll say, it's okay if the husband drinks and hits you, or it's okay if he humiliates you. So what if he calls you fat? So what if he body shames you? So what if he compares you to other women? It is okay. acceptance. Acceptance is very high.
Yes.
This kind of acceptance, you know, it's all in your, it's in your DNA to accept it.
Yes. So there are lots of many communities and organizations who are also spreading awareness.
Yes.
And I would, any message to those women there, Meera? What
So
would
as
be?
I always said, firstly, you have to be financially independent, which is very utmost important. You don't have to be dependent on somebody, and doesn't mean that you have a right so that you can always use it as a tool to harass men. No, use it only with, you know, be genuine. Be genuine. Only genuinely if you think this is cruelty against you, stand for it. You have to know your rights. You have to be financially and mentally very, very sound if you want to really fight any matters. So that is where, you know, I always favor women who really are financially sound. So they have to be financially secured and independent.
Thank you so much. Your poise and your
Yeah.
calmness and your
And
the work
nowadays,
which you are doing.
there are the younger generations are financially sound only, and there are a lot of domestic violences and are taking place. Now, madam, I want to know which cases are taken under family court and which cases you have mentioned that some cases taken under Metropolitan Magistrate Court. So, which cases are taken under family court?
So family courts, divorces, even domestic violence you can file in family courts.
Okay.
But here for maintenance, divorce, custody, restitution, all these cases are filed in the family courts. But domestic violences are filed in metropolitan courts and also in family courts. Both the courts, you can file them.
But the judgment delivered are very faster.
That's
family
the
court?
not really, not really. The judges, that is the whole thing. Lacuna.
What is the tenure period of when the judgment gets in domestic violence or whatever it is?
So it is, as per law, it has to be within the first order for interim should be given within 60 days, but doesn't really happen. It takes time. But within 60 days or within 90 days, there has to be some answer to, I mean, there has to be some relief given. That's the law. But practicality is different. So because there is too much of work, the judges are less. So yes, there are some lacunas. But if I'm only concentrating on law, then it has to be within 90 days. There has to be some relief given to the woman who files the case.
We have one more question from Sonia Nagdev. Thanks, Meera, for this platform. How to convince the victim who is in a toxic marriage with an alcoholic husband to leave her husband and start a new life? Thank you, Sonia, for your question.
So here what happens is that's where precisely you need to go to the protection officer. He is the one who helps you. Or you can also take help of counselors, trained counselors, go to good lawyers where they can guide you, give you your rights, show how much you will be able to get from the courts practically. And also you have to talk to the parents and give her support. Many a times a victim doesn't take this step because she's worried that here the husband is troubling me. What if I just leave his house and go to my parents' house? Brother's family is there, ghar chota hai, main kaise rahungi? So she's in that dilemma. So she needs to be given assurance by her parents or her brother or her sister-in-law. So she has to have a good support, you know, to take this step. A woman has to be really given a good support by her family members, or professionally has to take help from counselors. That is it.
I'm sure, Sonia, you have got your answer. Any more questions, please write to us at info@bloom-world.com and we will get back to you. We'll send these questions to Meera and she will answer it on email. Thank you so much, Meera, for your valuable time, and what a great start from our very own Meera Sansgiri. Your calmness and your poise and your experience itself makes you bloom and evolve. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you, beautiful audiences, for supporting Bloom family. We will be again next month, same time, and stay tuned and follow Bloom for yet another topic which is common yet not widely discussed. Namaste and God bless you all.
Thank you.